I guess you know what time it is. Yeah, I know, because it's about that time for the Toni G. Campbell podcast.
Hello and welcome to Conversations with Toni on Toni G. Campbell, the podcast. This is the show for my Gen X warriors where we talk about our challenges and victories in life. And on this episode, we will discuss going from housewife to erotica goddess. Now tell me, have you ever thought about dipping your toe into the erotica arena, but don't know where to start? Are you confused about the difference between erotica and the porn industry? Do you have some erotic fantasies that you would like to live out? On today's show, my co-host and I will dive deep into a discussion about how she went from housewife to an erotica goddess. Right after a word from our sponsor, I will come back with my co-host for today, Casey Carter, an author, an erotica show host, a sex erotica goddess, and a family member. Stay tuned.
1, 2, 1, 2, and I say this is Ty Controller, and I'm here to talk about Dip Square. Dip Square is an online shop that specializes in unique graphic t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, and other apparel. They also offer services like personalized mugs and shoes. Did I just say shoes? Yeah, you can get sneakers with your picture on them at Dip Square. They also have tote bags and other items. Right now, you can save on t-shirts every day by using the discount code I Love Tees. That's I Love Teez. You get 14% off because every day is Valentine's Day at Dip Square. So check them out online at dipsquare.com. Dipsquare.com. I guess you know what time it is. Yeah, I know, because it's about that time for the Toni G. Campbell podcast.
Welcome back. Now today we are talking about how to go from a housewife to an erotica goddess. My co-host for today is Casey Carter, an author, an erotica show host, a sex erotica goddess, and a family member. Hey Casey, how are you?
I'm good, Toni. How are you?
I am fabulous. I am so excited about this show.
Me too.
Because it's going to be juicy. Yes. Okay. We're just going to dive into it because this may help a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
We're going to do our best to be helpful.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about who Casey Carter is. Like where you grew up, all that good stuff. Where you? What you about?
Well, I'm originally a New Yorker, but I am now here in the Atlanta area. Mom of 2 teenage kids, one of which is about to graduate from high school. The other is a sophomore in college. And when I get to live my best life, I write erotic short stories. I have very adult conversation about all kinds of things, very sexy. And I get to travel the world and teach and exchange ideas with other sexologists, with other teachers in the sex industry.
Now, that's an exciting life that you live, girl. And I am trying to live vicariously through you. All right. Now, in my title, it says from housewife to erotica goddess. Now, let's start out. How long were you a stay-at-home wife and mother?
Well, allow me to clarify. Okay. So I sold real estate. I was going to say we're going to tell too much, but we're just going to tell it. I sold real estate. I sold real estate in Florida for, I don't know, like 8 years. So I wouldn't necessarily characterize myself as a stay-at-home mom or housewife, but I did do that in an effort to be more available, so that I can control my hours, my time, and be available for my kids. But that life managed to bleed into my erotic writings when I started writing.
Really?
Yeah, my very first story, and one of my favorite characters is a real estate broker in Central Florida. I wonder where I got that idea from.
Oh, okay. I guess inspiration comes from everywhere, right?
And funny you should say that, because some of my friends have read the stories and they're like, "Oh, you put me in your story." I'm like, "I did." Oh, okay.
Everyone wants to be a part. Everyone wants to be a part.
Well, it's funny because I'm like, subconsciously, I did. I named people after close personal friends and even some acquaintances who would say, "Yeah, I saw you had me in your story." I'm like, "Oh, wow. You know what?
You didn't change the names to hide the innocent?
Girl, they wasn't supposed to be in the story like that. They just saw their name and took possession of it."
Oh, wow.
So, okay.
Okay. So the big question is, what were your aspirations as a child that led you to aspiring to becoming an erotica goddess?
This was not my aspiration as a child.
There was no, because, some people be like, well, as a child, I used to, make up stories, or I used to do poetry, and maybe that's where it all stemmed from. Sometimes they're like, there was something that I knew way back when. Nothing like that happened.
Well, I mean, English was my favorite class. And when I graduated from high school, I had way more English credits than I needed. But if you wanted to say what was the identifying marker that would have led to the erotic writing, girl, it would not have been writing. It would have been the sex.
Oh.
But I would not... But back then that wasn't, it wasn't a part of a master plan, if you will. Back in high school, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to make clothes. That's what I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing. So,
really?
Yeah.
So how did you get into erotica goddessness? I know you said you started writing erotica short stories, but you have a whole entire show that I want you to talk about eventually about being an erotica goddess. You help people out every week. So how did you get to that point?
How did I get to that point? So here's how I got there. I got there because one day my ex-husband decided that he no longer wanted to be married. And of course, it came out of nowhere and it left me very emotional. And I started journaling as a way of getting through the experience. And then I started to get frustrated. And so because I had gotten into this habit of journaling every day, I then was putting the frustration on paper, and it turned into erotic writing because I was also reading erotic stories. And it just kind of, and it's funny because the timing of it was when Zane was, had been given a deal to do shows on, I think it was Cinemax at the time.
Yes, I remember those shows.
Yeah, so it kind of all coincided to be somewhat inspirational, but at that time, it was literally just a release. It wasn't a master plan. So I just kept writing and writing and writing. I eventually moved from Central Florida back to the Northeast, and I started sharing my stories. And believe it or not, I shared it with guys, and they were all like, "Yo, you need to publish this." Like,
Wow.
yeah, right, whatever. And they're like, no, seriously. And guys don't be reading. Guys are visual.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm like, they don't really read those type of stories. So that's interesting. Okay, so you knew you had it when men were backing you for it.
Yes. But even then, I still sort of just kept writing. I didn't do much with it. And then I met someone who really, really pushed me to publish. And I just sort of took a leap of faith and published my first story late 2014, early 15. And since then, I guess you can say I sort of unleashed the beast. I took ownership of who I am fully, unapologetically. And so, as you described this erotic goddess, that's the person that has always been there, but I sort of shoved into a box to try to contain her because she intimidated people. Mm-hmm. And I guess I have since learned that those people were intimidated because they just weren't the people who understood her.
Okay.
Yeah. So, over the last, I guess you can say 4 years, I've allowed Casey Carter to grow and flourish. And, as you mentioned about the show, part of the reason Casey at Night got started was because promoting erotica is hard. People don't want to promote erotic stories. And so I started the show really as an outlet for promoting my short stories, for promoting other erotic authors. And it just sort of grew from there.
And I heard some of them stories, girl. I'm not even going to elaborate on it, but it stunned me. Okay. So, let's go back to the part where you said you unleashed Casey Carter. So, how did you get comfortable with Casey? Because I know there's probably a lot of people out there who may have this desire or have fantasies to do more with their lives or do more even in their bedrooms. And it's like, but they've been put in that box, by either other people or even themselves. So how did you get to the point where you're like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to let her out. I'm going to just let her be who she is.
So letting her out, I think, was really motivated by connecting with the right people. So, as they say, finding my tribe. And it started with, it started with my honey backing my play, backing, the stories, being highly encouraging of me publishing. And then as I decided I wanted to go venture out and let the world see Casey live and in person, it just grew from there. And once you find your tribe, once you find people that are like you, that enjoy you for you,
mm-hmm.
You get more comfortable with who you are, because I don't think I was ever uncomfortable with it. I was more uncomfortable with the fact that I made people uncomfortable.
Oh, okay. I never even thought of it that way. And I tell people all the time, your village is important, people.
It is.
Your village is so important for really your entire lifestyle.
Yes, because it not only encourages you to be you, it feeds you, it supports you, it loves you. And yes, they will get on your last nerve, but there's more of them to love you than there is to hate you.
Oh, and that love is always so supportive. It allows you to help propel you forward. when you know that you have that love and support in the backing and not people judging you for things that they just don't understand.
Right. And that's one of the things that I would say in this adult entertainment space, the outside world is super judgy, but within that community, you and I don't have to have shared interests, but because there's so many people judging, we respect one another's interest. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Right. I don't have to necessarily be into what you're into, but because I know folks are not into what we as a collective are into, I will support you in your journey. And that has been an amazing experience. I'm telling you, it's like whenever I'm feeling kind of low, I just start texting people. And not even necessarily to tell them that I'm, having a low moment, but just, hey, hi, how you doing today? And the next thing you know, I'm all better just because the response is like, hey, how are you? How's it going? And you would be amazed that these people in the adult entertainment industry are so normal. Like you would, you kind of think, well, they take their clothes off and they have sex all day, every day. They must always be freaky. And the truth is they're not.
I know, right? Because some of those people are your doctors and dentists and cashier at Publix. And you really don't know who is in this arena. But I have to take a quick commercial break, and this conversation has been so great so far. But when we come back, I need you to explain to me the difference between the erotica arena and the porn industry. All right, we'll be right back, and we're going to continue our discussion about going from housewife to erotica goddess.
1 2 1 2, and I say this is Tide Controller, and I'm here to talk about Dip Square. Dip Square is an online shop that specializes in unique graphic t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, and other apparel. They also offer services like personalized mugs and shoes. Did I just say shoes? Yeah, you can get sneakers with your picture on them at Dip Square. They also have tote bags and other items. Right now, you can save on t-shirts every day by using the discount code ILOVETEES. That's I love TEEZ. You get 14% off because every day is Valentine's Day at Dip Square. So check them out online at dipsquare.com. Dipsquare.com. I guess you know what time it is. Yeah, I know, because it's about that time for the Toni G. Campbell podcast.
Thank you for tuning in. We will continue the conversation about going from housewife to erotica goddess with my co-host for today, the goddess herself, Casey Carter. All right, now, Casey, before the commercial, I was like, I need you to explain to me the difference between the erotica arena and the porn industry, or is there a difference? Well,
yeah, major difference. The major difference is erotica is literature. It's depending upon whose opinion, it's porn on paper. It's the words. It's literature. Pornography is visual, whether it's videos, photographs, it's the visual of the sex acts, whereas erotica is words. So, for example, one of my short stories is very inspired by porn I've watched. But I promise you, the way I tell the story is not what you would see from the stuff I watched to inspire me to write the story.
Interesting.
Yeah. So erotica, 50 Shades of Grey labeled.
I love those books.
Okay. Well, 50 Shades of Grey is labeled erotica. Mm-hmm. sort of kink, fetish, BDSM. But for those of us in the BDSM community, we're like, not.
Really?
Oh, yeah, no.
Was it like way off or too much or?
There was no BDSM in that. It wasn't really. That was all like sex play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She wasn't introduced to the right people to tell her how it really should be. I don't know.
And it's funny because, like I said, those of us who are in the BDSM community, we're like, yeah, okay. Just because you tie someone up with a blindfold, like with a silk scarf, and spank them doesn't make you kinky. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, the movie went left the minute he signed off, let her get away with not signing the contract, the minute he fell in love with her. And granted, people fall in love, but you got into this story based on the idea that he's this dominant and she's this mealy-mouthed submissive and he's about to tame her. And that ain't what happened. But I digress.
Well, I digress because I hated them. My husband won't even let me really look at the movies because I hated who they chose for the movie because those were not the right people for the book. And I'm going to leave it alone. But
yeah,
no.
I was going to say, yeah, because
movies don't exist to me.
You're going to take me someplace on that one because I had picked some other people.
I know, right?
I still don't like Melanie Griffith's daughter. Sorry.
First of all, she was too old. Hello?
Forget the too old. She too corny. But
and
again,
she can't act. I'm like,
Anyway.
All right.
Anyway.
We're going far left, right?
Yes. But anyway. All right. So back to the erotica. So here's the difference that's really, I think, significant. Erotica and romance. The erotica compared to romance, that is your porn, right? Like if you're you talk about what's a difference, erotica is like more raw sex. There's more fantasy involved. It may involve people's kinks or fetishes or fantasy or things that just could never, ever happen for all kinds of reasons. They can never literally happen. But what I like about where we are today because of digital downloads, I could be reading some of the nastiest stuff and you'd never, ever know. And I think it's created a space where writers get to be very, very creative, as you see, with the 50 Shades of Grey. Not that she was very creative, but it allowed her to tell stories that really caught the attention of the world and open people up to fantasies. So my show, Casey at Night, it sort of taps into that 50 Shades of Grey crowd who, okay, so now you've got me curious. What really goes on in a dungeon? What does that really feel like? Flogger, cane, what are those things? What do you call them? Because I think the average couple, when they decide to get kinky, they, blindfold and maybe some cute fuzzy handcuffs and not that there's
Don't forget the whipped cream. There's always whipped cream involved.
And here's the thing. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is the crowd that supported E.L. James. That is the crowd that made her a gabadillionaire. However, she told them nothing. And Casey at Night is where I will tell you everything. Yes. Whatever you want to know, we're going to talk about it because I want you to be comfortable talking about it. I don't care if you ever do any of the stuff we talk about. I want you just to be comfortable talking about it, because the more comfortable you are, the more comfortable you are in your intimate moments. and the more you'll be able to experience in your intimate moments. I think so many of us, so especially women, so many of us women don't have an orgasm, or we have an orgasm and we don't know we're having an orgasm, so we shut it down. We don't touch ourselves. We don't play with toys. We don't, tell our partner that we want to try something new. We're afraid. And
that's what we were taught. We were taught to be meek and mild. Don't open your mouth. Don't tell him he's doing something wrong. Just go with the flow.
Yeah. My mother, on the other hand, used to say things like, ain't nothing wrong with sucking a dick. What, Mom? What? You say what? Say what?
Because we all know who her mama is.
And we know who her mama is. And her mama still kind of make me go, oh my God, you did not just say that.
Okay, we're going to continue talk about your show, because I promise you, I don't think I knew how uncomfortable I could be until I watched some of your earlier shows, and when you were reading the erotica stories.
I know exactly which story you're talking about.
One story that I was just like, oh my gosh, like, oh my God. And I was like, honey, did you hear? I'm like, and it stumped me, because I was like, that cannot really happen.
Show enough, girl. Show enough.
So, okay. Tell everybody some of the topics that you talk about on your show, because you do a weekly show. And where is your show? Where can they see your show?
So Casey at Night is every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Twitter and Periscope. So tomorrow, for example, and the name you can find it under is Read Casey Carter, ReadCaseyCarter. So on my next episode of Casey at Night, I'm going to have two dominatrix on the show. What's a dominatrix, Casey? Why, I'm glad you asked. A dominatrix is first and foremost a very strong, empowered female. She controls not just her life, but her sexual experiences. She typically will have someone be submissive to her, or will fulfill those desires of dominating another person. One of my favorite shows is Billions, and the ADA, who's now like the district attorney or the state attorney general or whatever he is now, he's a stone cold freak who likes to be a submissive. And his wife is the dominatrix in their relationship. That scenario is more common than not, to have a person, especially a man, who is powerful, who runs the world, if you will, by day, and at night will allow himself to be humiliated on various levels, because it allows him the chance to relinquish that power and not have to be in control. Really? And then, yes, it's called a power exchange. And what that does for him is, when he goes back to being Chuck Rhodes, for example, he feels empowered. He's a dynamo when he's in his Chuck Rhodes mode. But when he gets to let that go, he's also empowered by allowing someone else to be in charge. So a dominatrix provides this power exchange, if you will. Submissives will allow the dominatrix to be in control of everything, absolutely everything. And depending upon the relationship between the submissive and the dom, it could be a 24/7 lifestyle thing, or it can be a paid experience. It just really all depends what the situation is. But a dominatrix is a very strong, I don't want to say powerful, it's a very strong person, a very strong woman. A dominatrix is the female version, and then a dominant would be a male but it's a very, very strong woman, because you have to be not just say physically strong because of the what's the right word, the implements that you use from time to time, but you also have to be mentally and emotionally strong, because when you have this power exchange, you have to be there for the other person as well. Sometimes you have to, I don't want to say be the brain for them too, but you have to be aware of not just who you are and where you are in the moment, but you have to be cognizant of where they are in the moment, because they've given you the power over who they are and what's going on.
Wow. And you said most times more than not, it's the woman who becomes dominant in these relationships and the man becomes the sub. Is it because of, like you said, most of the CEOs out there are male, even though women are changing that dynamic very quickly and and a lot of these days, just so they can relinquish that power?
Well, actually, it is probably one of the more equal opportunity experiences. The term dominatrix refers to a female, but it's not just that it's a female thing. You've got plenty of men, and I think we just traditionally see men in that role, but it's a little different than your husband being head of the house. It goes beyond that. And so it's not just that it's a female thing, because even with a female dominant, she may allow herself to have female submissives. It's really just terminology. So you can get both. For example, in 50 Shades of Grey, what's his face was a dominant. Mm-hmm. What's his name? You know his name, Grey, whatever.
Yeah, Grey.
Yeah. He was a dominant. Yes. So, he was the dominant, and Melanie Griffith's daughter was the submissive, and he was trained by a female dominant.
Yes, so he was.
Yeah. So, it's sort of no one holds the title of being more prevalent than the other.
Now, you mentioned the word humiliate in there. Now, is the dom sub relationship always about a humiliation?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. It's not. That's a preference. That is a preference. The sub, in their scene or exchange, that may be something that they like, that they crave, is to be humiliated. Not all crave that. Some crave service, meaning they will do whatever you want to service you, whether it's rubbing your feet, doing your laundry, washing your car, walking your dog, being your butler, and being at your beck and call.
I need one of them, because I need my bathrooms cleaned. I need you to go shopping. I thought that was just a maid at one point. Okay.
No, well, I mean, but
I need that's a sub.
You have people who are very much devoted to service, and they do these things, mind you, in exchange for something. There's a reward that they get for their service. And so again, that is a negotiated, and that's very important. So if you recall, in 50 Shades of Grey, there was this contract. There is this negotiated experience, whether you are a 24/7 in a 24/7 relationship, a lifestyle relationship, or whether you are paying for the experience. You in advance have discussed what this experience is going to look like.
So no matter what, communication is important in life.
Oh you have no idea. And this is why on my show, I stress communication. This is why I say I don't care if you're into what I'm talking about or not. I just want you to talk about it with me. That's all. Because when you get comfortable talking, you will talk.
Yes. And your show has brought up some real conversations up in this household. I'm going to let you know.
You hear that?
And I mean, because the conversations are real, they're, transparent, it's truth, and it's a lot of times unapologetically open because people need to communicate. I'm sick of people lying, hiding, just not voicing what they need. And girl, your show, I'm pretty sure it helps a lot of people.
But I'm glad you said it that way in terms of what you need. That, I think, creates friction in a relationship because people withhold wants and desires out of fear, out of, I don't know how to ask, whatever the case may be. So you don't communicate. Judgment. You get frustrated and you snap, you bark, you lash out. And so, I get people asking things like, how do I get my girlfriend to go down on me? How do I ask my girlfriend to peg me? You know what I'm saying? And it's, and I always tell people sometimes you can't ask the question the first time you man up to ask the question. You might need to beat around the bush a little bit. Just engage in the conversation. More importantly, if you're just, let's say you're not interested in being a stone cold freak and doing kinky stuff and figuring out what your fetishes are. You just want a better sexual relationship. Then talk about your sex and talk about it all the time. Not just before the sex, not just after the sex, while you're having breakfast and passing each other on the way to work. Ooh, babe, oh my God, last night, oh my God, I can still feel it. That's the kind of conversation you should be having.
Yes, and also by communicating things like, you'd be like, well, honey, I want to try this. And if that person is like, ooh, I don't know, at least y'all can talk it out and you can see what hangups that person has, and maybe them talking it out will release that hangup, because that could be some hangup they were taught back when they were 7 years old that, oh, girl, no, you don't do that. But they may have always wanted to try it and just never knew how to ask for it themselves. So, if you start the conversation, it may be helping your partner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I tell a lot of people, you may start the conversation motivated around what you want, but you may sometimes have to give up what you want in the moment to find out what they want. I have a gentleman who we follow each other on Twitter, and he's into pegging, and he doesn't know how to tell his wife. And I'm like, well, why don't you just spend time talking to her about what she's interested in? And he, his like, I don't know. She doesn't seem to be interested in anything. Well, did you ask her? Well, she just, we have sex, but I'm like, okay, but did you ask her? Well, she doesn't seem like, I'm like, okay, but did you ask her? Did you ask her?
He has not answered that question.
Right. No, because he didn't ask her. He had already decided what she was or was not into, as opposed to just asking. And, he's into full-on pegging. She might have just been into a little foot worship. Kiss my toes. Okay, kiss her toes.
Yeah.
Granted, you might still be 10 miles apart between what you want and what she wants, but you got her talking. Now we can go a little bit further on that fantasy journey. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't start talking, you won't have the fulfilling relationship. And here's the thing. It's not so much that the sex that's as a result of the conversation that matters. It's the intimacy of the conversation that matters. Yes. It's making yourself vulnerable to your partner. It's being transparent to your partner. It's experiencing something new with your partner. that's the part that makes the act at the end of this rainbow more exciting. It's not the act in and of itself. It's that moment that you say to yourself, that you and your boo are at home talking about, babe, I kind of dig it when you like rub on my feet or, whatever. And then you go out to dinner and he puts his hand under the table and grabs your feet. And you're like, ooh, okay.
Out here at Applebee's. No.
Right. Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point. Because you talked about this while you were at home. Boo, one time while y'all out at Applebee's, grabs your foot. And now you're like, oh, snap. It's about to go down. That's what the conversations are about. And granted, ain't nothing going to happen right there in Applebee's, but I promise you, your partner is now excited.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Can't wait to get home.
Can't wait to get home. And all you had to do, yes.
Our time is up already, girl. We got to do this again. This is,
oh my God.
This is going to be a part 1.
Yeah, because there's so much more we can talk about. Oh my goodness. I know.
So quickly tell people how they can find and support you. You got 2 minutes. Go.
Okay. I am on Twitter at Read, R-E-A-D, Casey Carter. I am on Instagram at the Casey Carter Experience. Those are my 2 favorite places. And you can go to my website, which is www.casey-carter.com. Casey-carter.com.
And they can find you every Wednesday night live
on Twitter and Periscope, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, you'll often hear her call me out because I'll be watching.
Yes. Listen, I gotta shout out the fam.
Oh my gosh, we definitely, you have to come back because we haven't even touched on so much information. But if they will go and watch you on Wednesday nights at 10 o'clock, they will find out so much more information. Okay, I have to take one last commercial break and I'll be right back. I might have to do a 2-hour segment next time, but I'll be back, people.
1 2 1 2, and I say this is Ty Controller, and I'm here to talk about DipSquare. DipSquare is an online shop that specializes in unique graphic t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, and other apparel. They also offer services like personalized mugs and shoes. Did I just say shoes? Yeah, you can get sneakers with your picture on them at DipSquare. They also have tote bags and other items. Right now, you can save on t-shirts every day by using the discount code ILOVETEES. That's ILOVETEEZ. You get 14% off because every day is Valentine's Day at DipSquare. So check them out online at dipsquare.com. dipsquare.com. I guess you know what time it is. Yeah, I know, because it's about that time for the Toni G. Campbell podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, and it's time to wrap this thing up. I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Conversations with Toni on Toni G. Campbell, the podcast. Don't forget to check out our archive shows at tonygcampbell.com, where you can also see our show notes for this episode. And make sure you subscribe to Toni G. Campbell, the podcast, on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Make sure you go to my website, ToniGCampbell.com, and become a Gen X warrior. There are so many benefits with being a Gen X warrior. Share the podcast and tell a friend about Conversations with Toni. Make sure you rate and review my podcast. And always remember to be kind, be useful, and be fearless. Go out and have an amazing day.